Good morning, and thank you for joining office hours call. I'm actually starting a few minutes early here, and for the purpose of the recording, and so no one's on yet, I'm just giving a quick intro. I'm going to go ahead and continue where I left off on continue to update our issue ticket and projects configuration. And as people join, we'll also see if we get any questions, because the main purpose of the office hours is to take in, try to resolve any outstanding questions. But sometimes there's not a lot of questions, and so if we don't get many questions, we'll just continue forward with setting up the project system. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, yes. So we were setting up our issue tickets, and we set up new issue tickets for our global issue tickets in our .GitHub directory, and those will show up anywhere where we don't need to make local use different templates on a given local repo as we do on the home page. Now we just went ahead and went into our home page and made sure that we manually copied over these template types into the home page so that they're consistent. At some point, we can automate that process, but these won't change very frequently. So this is fine for manual for now. Now the other thing is since in our Modern Apps Ninja GitHub IO repo here, we have our own .github and issue template folder. This will overwrite the global settings. We do want custom ones on our homepage. But if we look at things like where's our course repository template. So when a new course is created, it uses this template. It's also by default overriding the global standards. And so I want to update that course template to not overwrite and just use the global templates there for issue ticket types. So now I'm going to navigate in my directory here. CD. And we'll go to the course repo template. Now, again, the first thing that we're going to do, actually, I'm going to pause the recording for a moment because I have a personal interruption. Give me just a moment. Hey, Rick, how's it going?
Good day, sir. It's going okay. How about you?
Doing good. Thank you.
What's the weather like in Vegas today?
It's nice. Well, hot, starting to we're getting up in I wonder what it is right this second. I know like last night when I went to bed, it was over 90 degrees.
Oh my.
It's, normal Vegas.
Yeah. We had a hot day yesterday, but it's supposed to cool down now.
Yeah.
And for us, Bay Area, if it's over 80 degrees, we get to bitch and moan.
Yeah, it's 76 right now. Under the high today, it looks like, is that saying 98? Looks like it. Yeah, 99. High of 99 today. But it looks like on Sunday and Monday, Sunday it says the high is supposed to be 83 right now, and Monday 89. So hopefully Sunday will be nice.
Yeah, sounds good.
Time for water sports again.
Yeah. Did you go to Lake Mead?
I don't, but I want to more. You know, I used to have friends that had boats. I don't want to have a boat,
Yeah,
but I want to have more friends with boats.
my
I
uncle
want to
used
have more
to.
people in my life. They're like, I'm gonna buy a boat and deal with the hassle of it. I'm gonna drive it down there and back
Yep.
my trailer in and all that crap that I hate doing. And you just show up and come hang out. That's what I need, more people like that in my life.
My uncle always used to famously say, the only thing better than having a cabin on a lake is having relatives with cabins on a lake.
Oh, am I still sharing my desktop?
Nope. Oh,
I didn't share that yet. Let's see. I see. Okay. Okay. So oh, we got a couple more people joining. Let's see. Chris joined and James, welcome.
Hello.
good day.
How's it going, Chris?
Not bad. Hanging in there.
Awesome. So I will, as usual, of course, during office hours, questions always take priority. So any questions, conversation from that you feel like bringing up, feel free to jump in and share questions or insights at any point.
Here, I have
I
a
will-
question, and this might not be the right audience, but I wonder if you or anyone here uses the Shepherd tool for creating TKGI or TKGM test beds.
You know, I actually am not familiar with that tool.
Oh,
So
okay. No worries.
not myself, but
Yeah, I've recently started using it. It's
interesting.
just shepherd.run. Well, that's the dashboard for it. There's a GitLab page for it too. GitLab.eng.vmware.com/shepherd. But here, I can paste that too. I've got it to work really well for TKGI and for TKGM. I'm struggling with TKGS though. And it's really weird because a lot of this is fairly prescribed in terms of how it builds these test beds out. And you can modify the configurations, but I'm struggling to get it to come up with Avi because, you know, Avi, it's kind of like NSX Manager. It's a beast. It needs a lot of memory, a lot of CPU to work. But the ESX hosts that get deployed do not have enough CPU for the VM to power on. So I'm like, how do I deploy it with hosts that have at least 8 CPUs? Because they're only deploying with 4, which is pretty small. And I just cannot figure it out. So I'm probably gonna have to reach out to some of the folks that run Shepherd and figure out what am I doing.
So is this like a Terraform type system?
It can be Terraform. It also uses this hack Nimbus. It uses some Git stuff. It's kind of all over the place. You can kind of change things around to do what you need, and so it's fairly flexible. But a lot of it is, and I'll be honest, it's beyond me. I mean, it's so far down a rabbit hole that I can't. I don't have the time to really understand all of it. I just want to get labs up and running in a hurry.
Yep, I don't need to learn yet another thing. Got enough on the plate.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's. I think if you have any spare cycles, it is kind of a neat little tool. I shouldn't say little; it does a lot actually, and it's capable of deploying lots of different types of environments. But as you might imagine, with that flexibility, there's a decent learning curve there to figure out how to make it do what you want.
Yeah, I can see. I see the link that you sent. And there's a lot of sub projects within that project.
Yep. Yeah. No worries. I was just curious to see if you or anyone else might have used it before, and I could bounce my question about sizing off of someone who knows it more than I do, which is probably just about anyone who's used it.
I'm still working on mastering strategies to make other people do the lab work. You're right at the top of that list. Okay. Yeah, but it does help a lot. I mean, everybody loves it, especially that you've got those OneCloud labs coming out all the time and staying up on it, because I'm glad not to have to be thinking about that so much. Okay. Well, I think, again, don't let me take over if there's any discussion or anything that anyone wants to bring up. But in the meantime, in lieu of other discussion, I may go ahead and keep moving forward with setting up that project or project management, or really our agile management systems stuff at a very basic level. As I still, after this one, we'll get into planning for the sorting and prioritizing feature requests and stuff like that. And but needing to get some baseline stuff established. So one of the things I was doing since the last call is we spoke about the project boards and projects, and everything that everyone will, in any change to the system should, in the large majority of cases, revolve around issue tickets, whether it's a manual or manually creating a change, or even in the case of workflows, it's going to be a better practice for traceability and documentation, consistency, to have all those brought into a common way of doing things with issue tickets. And see, Ken just joined. Thanks for joining, Ken. I am just reviewing some stuff that I put in place for issue ticket handling, but this is not important. So the main purpose of this call is to answer all questions. So at any point, if I'm talking or if I pause, either way, just feel free to unmute, type a question into chat, whatever you prefer if you have any questions. Now, I just went ahead and I set up some new issue ticket templates. And so with a GitHub organization in your GitHub org, and I'll show this on the in the browser, I think it'll display better. In a GitHub org, you can have certain things that have like kind of organization-wide settings. Just like within a particular repo, you can have some settings for templates and things in a folder called .github. Well, if you make a repository called .github as a child of your organization, that can be used to set some global organization-wide settings. In this case, we're looking at issue ticket templates. Let's see. So we have a few different global issue ticket template types: bug report, feature request, and this should be, it's called question, but the title of it is actually support request. These are standard issue ticket templates, such that when you go to one of the pages in the org and select a new issue ticket, you're given a choice. And what we're using that for, right, this is, where did I put, oh, here it is. Grab this Miro board. So the high level process, a little more diagramming of it. So user initiates issue ticket opening, and then we move into kind of this triage, and there's a multi-part triage. But the idea of once the issue ticket is submitted, we want to make sure that it goes from a central collection to being able to be routed to a particular project board, where the ultimate individual or team who is right for resolving that particular issue ticket type, it will see it in their queue and be able to resolve the issue. So the first part of that is users selecting the issue ticket type, and we're going to give the user some basic choices. Now, users, again, have no ability in GitHub, unless you have triage or higher level permissions on a repository, you can't assign your own labels. What we can do as administrators is we can create issue ticket templates that will automatically assign labels, and that can be very valuable for us in that initial set of typing and routing. And so once the user selects that ticket, it comes into the queue, right? And we'll see that a new ticket has been created, and there's an initial review, initial triage process where if it's myself, I go through, review the ticket. Depending on the body of the ticket, I use my best effort to start to apply the labels that make sense, so we can start to use those labels to filter and categorize and route the ticket going forward. But this is a best effort process right here, the way that this is designed. So any member of the community who is interested in like starting to use this for a learning exercise and also help out the community, you can start to review these use their best efforts for this initial label process. And then we get to this point where it gets more important is before we can move on to the out of this triage 2 phase, and we need to ask, is required info present to append the routing labels and or make project assignments, as that's the main purpose of this initial well, they call this triage 2, as I'm calling what the user selection is kind of a part of the triage process, but this is really the initial triage process here. And so if you can route it, then you append the labels, and it'll move on to I have to finish the diagram, move on to the next phase. And if you can't, then you go back to append the issue ticket with a request for the ticket opener to request the needed info from the person who created the ticket. And so that's the basic high level workflow for that. And let's go back into my VM. So we've created these tickets here that will be organization-wide ticket templates. And we've gone in and set it up to where if, say, someone selects the bug report template, it will apply a label called kind/bug. And that's just we're telling it that if there's a label on the repository where we're using this template that's called kind/bug, then apply it. But if that label doesn't happen to exist, then it won't do anything in terms of there'll just be no label. It'll still create an issue ticket. And so it's important to remember that you have to have a mechanism for making sure that the labels that you want to be there are there. And in our case, when we create a new repository, we have a automated workflow that gathers a central set of labels and creates them on the new repository. And so this label should be present on when we create a new repository through the appropriate process. See, Twan's joining. Oh, he hasn't joined the audio yet. Hey, Twan, how's it going? We are just going through our setup for our issue tickets. And I've actually, the template of this, in case anyone's curious, I borrowed some of these templates from, I think, either the Kubernetes repository or a couple or a different established repository, probably open source project somewhere. And so there's nothing especially important about the text and template. They're just really meant to be informational, to help people, guide people towards getting the information that needed for a particular issue type. Now, and do feel free. I'm not, yeah, I'm working in lieu of leaving dead space on the call. Sometimes if I say, hey, questions or things like that, then I have to sit and wait for the questions. And I kind of feel like, if I wait for 30 seconds, a minute with just dead space, it may not be the most entertaining format for the call. So I don't want to be talking all the time and make it harder for people to jump in. So maybe for happy medium, I'll continue to remind. Please do, if you have any question, whether it's related to what I'm doing or not, any comment you'd like to chit chat about, feel free, unmute or type a question in chat, and we'll work on the questions. Okay, so now we've got, again, what we put in the .github here. These will become globally present issue ticket templates. And okay, Aladeen, thanks for joining. Again, anybody at any time, please do interrupt me if you have any questions or any conversation points, want to jump into the conversation, or and don't hesitate to steer any comments or questions that you have, however you like. It doesn't have to relate to anything. I'm doing some work on the repo now to kind of fill the time in lieu of questions. So okay, so now I have my set of global issue ticket templates that I want to have globally. One of the things with this is this model, by putting them in here in my organization.github repository, it will make them work across the ModernApps Ninja organization, unless a repo that's in this organization has a similar folder. So you notice I'm in the ModernApps Ninja org. Inside the ModernApps Ninja org, I have a .github repository. Inside my .github repository, I have a .github folder. and then my issue templates. And the format here is that in any repository, in this case, we have the special one .github, but in any repository, if locally within that repository, I have this .github folder, that's a place where I can store templates that are local to my repository. And then we're kind of follow the, the same idea, to one more level of meta by creating a, .github repository. Then that, in my org, then it applies that setting to the org. And that may be a little clearer if I go here and let's look at a repository in our org, in this case, the homepage. And we'll see in the homepage repository, I have a local .github folder. And this also has an issue template folder. And so the net of that is that I do not, if I don't have in this local repository, if I don't have this .github issue ticket template folder, then I'm going to rely on these global templates. But because I do have this folder locally, it's going to, for the homepage repo, it's going to use the local issue ticket templates rather than the global issue ticket templates. And in the case of the homepage, that is desirable because for the homepage, I want to have the join request, which is tied to some automated workflows and some logic. I want to have the join request for the organization here on this homepage repository, but I don't want to have that on every single repository out there. It's just may not be desirable for user experience. I don't know if it really matters that much, but the most important thing is that I've written the logic to receive this type of join request on the homepage. And so the homepage will have its own custom set. Now, I also noticed though, in the past, if I go pick to a course, just one of these course repositories, we'll pick one, say Modern Apps Skills. The template that we use to create these courses, I created with the idea that we would have local issue templates locally within most of those repositories, rather than relying on a global standard. And I do think that it makes more sense to leverage that central global standard for the issue ticket templates and only overwrite them locally in the cases that we need to. But so right now, I did create new kind of global issue ticket templates. So those will work on, if I were just to go create any random new repository, then those global set of issue tickets would be there. But the problem is since I already have on a lot of these repositories, a set of templates, it's going to overwrite those changes that I made and we won't see the global changes. And so the resolution to that is to remove the local issue ticket templates from the repositories where we want to use the global standard. And the first being, we have some templates in here that we use whenever someone wants to create, whenever I create a new course or create a new guide repository, those are created from certain templates. And so we want to update those templates. And then of the templates that we've, of all the courses and lab guides that we have already created, right now I have a manual process of updating those. I have, definitely issue tickets open. So that way we have more automated methods to patch multiple managed repositories, or even ideally, maybe we'll eventually get to a declarative reconciliation system. But in the meantime, I've got to go through and groom out these issue ticket templates so everyone's using the global standard. So let's take a look at that. So I've got a lot of these repositories already downloaded into my local Visual Studio Code. And so one of the key ones is this course repository template, and there's also learning guide template. And so when I've got a workflow that when I create a new course repository, it uses course repository template. If I create a new learning guide repository, it uses this one. So I want to update these. Now, in an ideal world, we want to be as dry as possible. So longer term, I would like to tie some of these into some of the automated workflows more directly. But I think for right now, it's a good step to because now we are updating it in two places, and we just created one global standard, kind of global norm around there. And we and we have it now in multiple different templates. And so by removing the .github from these templates, then it will just fall back to that global standard. So before I do those things, notice let me adjust my screen here. So now I'm already in my directory here called course repository template. And whenever I make changes, first thing I want to do whenever I go to any repository that I haven't touched immediately, if I didn't already have this repository local, then I could just clone it down and start working right away because I knew my copy was fresh. But anytime I do anything, the very first thing I want to do is I like to do git fetch origin and then git merge origin. That's rather than git pull, it's a little bit more of a graceful process. In the cases where you maybe have local work that you've done, ideally you don't want to walk away from a working session. You want to clean things up before you walk away. But in the real world, right, sometimes we're in the middle of a working session, things aren't perfectly clean. We've got to walk away, and sometimes we might have work saved locally. We don't want to overwrite by pulling down the latest stuff from GitHub and just in a motion that might override our local changes. And so by using a git fetch origin and git merge origin is kind of this two-step process. Every time I'm going to make any changes, I do that to make sure that my local copy is fresh. And then before I submit anything, I want to go ahead and we'll create a branch to do my local edit on. And I'm going to just call this. The branch name doesn't matter so much. I'm just picked the time of day of my local time zone to give it a bit of uniqueness. That is the one thing that matters, is that it is a unique branch name. Search. So now I'm on my branch, and now that I'm in this branch, I want to go to GitHub, and I want to go ahead and remove the issue template folder. That's all caps. Okay, now I can see that that is removed, and now I can it's not removing, we're going to call this removing. Moving local issue ticket. So that's good enough. Give it a commit message. And now I want to go ahead and push. Now, notice I am going to take this push action here locally, and this is going to push it to the branch, right? Notice I'm working on a branch. Then we'll go ahead and open up a pull request. I'll do that in the browser. So we'll go ahead and get push. And it has no upstream branch. Okay. So we'll do the exact command referencing here. And that way we give it an origin to for that branch. Okay. Okay, now we'll go back to that was ModernApps, which that was the course repository template that was just in, right? Okay, here we go. So yeah, course repo template. So let's head to the course repo template and see if we can see that new branch and create a pull request. So you can see it saw something. That's why it's at the top of the list here, the most recent change. And now we can see. So we can see the new branch and the pull request. Let's go ahead and do the compare and pull request. And what this is going to do is it's going to compare that branch where we just made a change. And so you can see here it's comparing that afuel 753 branch with our main branch. And so when we can see that we have 0 additions and 8 deletions. That looks exactly right. So it looks like the only thing that has changed is exactly what we expected, that our issue template, issue template, issue template, issue template, and all those files that were in our issue template directory are all gone. And now we can go ahead and create the pull request. And so normally for most people, you'll see here, it says at least 2 approving reviews are required by reviewers with right access. And that's kind of the standard for collaboration on here is depending on any individual's level of permission. Now, nobody needs any level of permission to be able to submit an update. It really comes down to if someone submits an update, who is allowed to review and approve those updates. And so for people with the kind of collaborator level, you require 2 reviews. If you're maintainer or higher level, you can force a push through. And a big part of that is we hope that over time, a lot of people will become, a collaborator level, and we can kind of have a community of fellow administrators to where if you make a change and you're hoping to get that reviewed quickly, you could come to me there, or Simone or Peg, something. But ideally is we'll have a lot more people who can come in and give you an approving review, and hopefully that'll help to facilitate collaboration in the community. So we'll go ahead and merge the pull request. And yes, I'm going to use my administrator privileges to merge the pull request. And then nice habit is once you've very good practice, and I can put an automation in. I needed to put an automation like a little automated garbage cleaner to handle this. But if you do make a pull request ever for anything that you're doing a pull request for, after you see it merged, you'll see this pull request successfully merged and closed. You can delete the branch. It's generally a good practice. Go ahead and delete that branch. So the easy thing there is that's something that a garbage collector can easily do. I don't have a garbage collection workflow cleaning those right now, but it doesn't really matter. I can add it at any point. I plan to add that for later. So now we've got our pull request done, and now our cart repository template. And let's test to see if that's, what is it my mouse doing? My mouse is deciding to drag that name all over the place. Okay. Now let's see if that works. So now if we go into issues and we go to new issue, we should see the 3 central options. Yeah. So now we just see those 3 options. I had 4 there before, so that helps to clearly indicate it is no longer using the local files. We just deleted it, and it's relying on those new globally centralized issue ticket types that we created for the repository. Now that is the end of the first half hour, and we'll start rolling into probably having some more people joining, and we'll continue down this path of finishing up this these updates, and as people join. But I should, let's see. Oh, it looks like there's a chat that I may have missed. Thank you for. Yeah, Brett. I knew there was a flag, Aladdin. I did that on the video the other day. I was like, I'm sitting here recording a video, and like, what happened to the flag? I know there was a flag number, and I started looking for the flag to both create and switch to the branch, and it was eluding me for the moment. So then I'm like having to go do Google searches. I'm like, I know I didn't usually do this git switch command. I know there is the flag, but I couldn't remember what it was. Okay. So let's see. So we have a few more people joining. Thanks everybody for joining. We'll continue to, let me go ahead and stop the share for a minute so we can see each other. Thanks again for joining. Yeah, we'll get started in another about 2 minutes or so. We're going to get started getting back and looking at our sort of a beginner agile management system for the platform and community needs. How's everybody doing this morning?
Drinking some coffee.
And I'm doing my summertime iced chai tea. It's
That sounds
perfect,
good.
perfect drink for the summer.
Oh, that sounds really good.
Cool. Yeah, while we're giving it a minute here before I just jump into things. Sorry about that. I don't know exactly where I don't know what, I hate highly sporadic problems. You know what I mean? Because my Zoom is like, I'm on meetings every single day and it's reliable like 95% of the time. But then there's that other 5% where I'm hosting a call in the middle of saying something and it pauses and it freezes on me. Sorry for that interruption. Okay. So again, yeah, I was just saying, we're going to get started, actually just get into some hands-on work here in a moment. But first, if anybody has anything you'd like to share or any questions you'd like to ask, feel free to unmute and shoot. And I'll also kind of reiterate that as I start going, at any point, if you have any questions about anything I'm doing, or if maybe something I'm doing, or for some reason a question you had gets, comes to mind, even if it's not exactly related to what I'm working on at that moment, please do, shout out. Don't worry about interrupting me if I'm talking. If you want to put something in chat, I will try to pay closer attention to chat. Sometimes I don't see the messages in chat, but if anyone does see a message in chat and I don't happen to notice, anyone can feel free to just like unmute and shout, "Hey, Art, there's something in chat you didn't see." And I'll go ahead and get started now.
Yeah, something I had noticed
ahead.
in another community, like for Kubernetes that I joined the other day. They also have like a bunch of people, and when like somebody has something to say, they like raise their hand like that.
I saw that's a good point. We have that reaction on the
Yeah,
in the
so
Zoom. There's that reaction.
so that might make it easier for people to to say something, because sometimes like several people at the same time have to say something, and that way you can have like a
Then I can call.
queue in case something like controversial or whatever that everybody wants to talk
Well,
about.
I love that you say that, because I do think, it is a common thing. People hesitate to ask questions because they don't want to interrupt, or, and then you have that, you go to that dead space and you suspect 2 or 3 people might be waiting to say something. And then I oftentimes will hesitate. So I think that actually is very helpful. So thanks for pointing that out, Ivan. Okay, so let's go. I was just going through. I've done a couple calls this week. Not really calls. I'm going to try to record my working sessions when I'm working on specific of these features, so that way, if it becomes relevant, we'll see how popular that it might be, how useful it might be to people. Yeah, I was just recording some things to set up the project system that we're going to be using. And so we're using GitHub, and for most everything is kind of the central version control system. And we're also using GitHub Projects. And the point here isn't to endorse GitHub Projects specifically. I think it's a nice setup. But the real point is to say, this is a version control system that is kind of a standard for version control systems. And regardless of what if you're working on in a similar modern agile type environment, you might be working with Atlassian stuff, you might be working with more Microsoft stuff, what have you, but the principles are the same. This is a sort of a type of system. I think GitHub is a great way to demonstrate these new types of capabilities. Not to say that you'll necessarily be doing it on GitHub, but in the new modern set of tools, this is the GitHub experience is generally pretty reflective of the norms. And so we have right now, I do at some point want to make a dedicated, I probably maybe should have already done this, but I want to make a dedicated project planning repository. But in the meantime, I'm using the homepage repository as the place for project planning. So all issue tickets of all types, and this is kind of the central hub for all issues across the organization to be coming through, so for central management. And we have set up some project boards to help us manage. We'll work on getting these nailed down, just the way we want them. The one thing I went through during the week, I have recordings of me going through it in excruciating detail, but I'll just do a quick review. So these project boards, everything revolves around the issue ticket, and our system here will. But hey, how's it going?
Are you actually sharing something? Because it says you're sharing something, but I'm having just a black screen here.
Oh, that's an interesting thing. Can anybody else comment? Is everyone seeing a blank screen, or is it
Right,
maybe just?
Yeah, it just says that you're starting to share screen, but it's like frozen.
Oh, okay. Let me reset this. Let me stop my share. Thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate it. And let me go ahead and try again. Share screen. Let me go to screen 2. Is that any better?
Still the same thing. It looks like it's
Yeah.
starting to share the screen, but it never actually comes up.
What I suspect is when my Zoom crashed before, I think it didn't come back to life because even when I go to share my screen and I see the screens that I'm trying to share, it shows the screens, but they all show plain black, like there's something wrong with Zoom client. So I think what I'm going to have to do, hopefully this will be with very minimal intrusion, but I think I may have to just close and restart my, I'm going to make Ivan the host real quick, just to make sure. I don't think that it will drop everyone, but give me just 1 second to restart my client.
Yay, I have the power.
Hopefully the second time we'll do the trick here. Oh, that looks a lot better on my end. Let's see if you can tell me. Hopefully everybody can see that now.
Looks
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So yeah, so what I did in some videos I recorded, I'll post them to the channel, try to get them posted before the end of the day, to the YouTube channel. But we worked on having our issue tickets template types set up. Let me share a little workflow. Every new, this is I sometimes say project management system. It's really a overall IT process agile management system. So anything that happens in the community should always revolve around an issue ticket opening. And so you see here, I've got this Slimline diagram I've started working on to capture this as a documentation and reference. So everything should be either user manually initiates a ticket opening, or in some cases an automated issue ticket opening. When the user initiates the ticket, what we need to be able to do, right, is to identify, get it routed the primary goal is that the triage process is get the ticket from the place where a user opens it to the person and that can or team that can ultimately resolve that issue. And so the first thing we want to do is have the user select the issue ticket type, and the user can't label their own. Someone who opens an issue ticket, unless they have a certain level of permission on a repository, can't label their own ticket. So what we can do as administrators is create issue ticket templates that will automatically apply that type label, and that'll help us with that initial identification of the ticket. And then we go on through additional manual and other automated reviews of and processing for the tickets. But that initial set is a template. And so on GitHub, oops, let's go back to my virtual machine. On GitHub, we can have in every repository, we can have where we need to have issue ticket templates. We can have this .github folder and the issue templates. And so we can see here for this homepage, we've got a bug report, feature request, a join request, and question as a support request. And those are reflected when I go to my issue tickets. Those are reflected if I say new issue. I can see that it'll give me these choices. And so when people choose the choice of issue ticket, and in the template itself, it has the information of what label will get appended. And so if any user comes through and says, I want to create a ticket that's a bug report type, then when we come and look in the issue tickets, we'll see that that will automatically have the appropriate label of bug already appended there. And so we just, I created some global standards, some global issue tickets and some local issue tickets. On the homepage repo, we have a few issue ticket types that we don't want to have on every single repo. So here we use a local issue ticket templates here. And you can also, for an organizational wide setting, you have this option to create at the organization level. So now I'm looking at the Modern Apps Ninja, the org. I'm not looking at any particular repository. I can have an entire repository named .github. If you may remember, like I was just looking in the homepage. That homepage has a folder inside that repo called .github where you keep the templates. Right. Well, if at the organization level I do the same thing, I create a .github repository that creates a organization-wide set of templates. Now that organization-wide set of templates though will get overwritten if a individual repo like the homepage has its own set of templates. And so here we have we created a global set of templates that will apply to most of the different repositories, with the exception of repositories like the homepage, where we want to have a local set of templates that offer some one-off or customization for that particular repository. So now we've got our issue tickets templates all set up, and now we can go to the next stage and figure out how do we want our issue tickets to interact in our project boards. You know, what type of project boards do we have? How do we have this set up? So there's a few different standards for how we do project boards. One is that we do this interesting, you know, best effort continuous CI/CD train, and so or cadence, if you will. And so a lot of things will move on to these consistent set of boards for support, features, bugs, and triage. And for given individual projects, we have a couple different levels of you know, let's say I'll define a project as multiple different tasks that are associated with one goal. So I've got one thing I want to do. I may need to create multiple different tickets because there's several distinct tasks. Let's call that a project. Now for larger projects, you may create a dedicated Kanban board here. But for other projects, we'll create, we'll call it a tracking ticket to be able to track a set of related projects, but they'll just move through the standard, you know, feature request or support boards. So what we want to have happen is that whenever someone creates a new issue ticket, we do want it to end up on ultimately get it to the appropriate board. Now, I think we want to have a manual triage check first. And so the first place I want everything brand new to go to is this board called Triage. And right now I don't have that set up exactly right because I can make that all happen automatically. But one of the things I did when I created these boards is I created them with this default GitHub automated Kanban board type. And that'll set up each one of them to try to grab the new tickets that get created. And so I want to make sure that only the triage board is grabbing any new tickets that get created, and we don't want to route them to these other boards until something happens at this initial triage stage. So I'm going to just check through each of these boards and make sure that my automation on my initial to-do column is not trying to see. So notice this one says move issues here when they are newly added. So this is one is looking for any new issue, and it's going to try to add it here. And if you actually went through and looked through all these boards, you realize they're not getting added to all of them, because I think that there's a little contention because there's several different boards that are configured with the same sort of automation trying to grab new tickets. And so there's some contention around that. And I just want to remove that contention. And I only want the triage board to be the one to accept the when a new ticket is created. And do feel free to, if you have any comments, any question, any suggestions. I'm not trying to make this the world's perfect system right now or qualified to do so, but I'm really trying to demonstrate, we can have a very effective, simple system that we can get started in simple ways. And then over time, we'll bring more and more experts and we'll build this system out to be something that we can look at and say, hey, that's a really great best practice implementation. Right now, we want to get something in place that's functional that really helps us achieve our goals, but and then work, step by step towards best practice. And so that was support. And we'll be doing more this call. We're very shortly look at more planning as opposed to doing some of this configuration work. I just want to get some of this set up in place. That way, as we do planning, that it's going to work well for us. Now let's go ahead and bugs, I think, is the last board. And then we should be done with that first automation. And I already did bugs. Okay, or either way. Okay, so now as a general rule here, if I go into triage, and in triage, we want our icebox. So this one has this thing here, move issues here when they are newly added. And we definitely want that. Now, that is an event-driven setting. And so this isn't like a declarative reconciliation. And so this is not going to go to all my issue tickets and add them to this column. So from now on, if I go create a new issue ticket, it should automatically show up here. Let's go ahead and test to make sure that theory works. And it shouldn't matter which type of issue ticket. I want to go ahead and we'll just say test. Submit new issue. Let me just double check my chat here, make sure I'm not missing anything. No. And again, do feel free to unmute at any time if you have any questions about anything. Or let's see. So I did create this new issue ticket here. I can see that. Now I want to go over to my projects board and see if it's showing up where I want it to on triage. And it is not. So there must still be some conflict on one of these boards here. I can go ahead and add cards. Either way, though, we'll worry about the full automation of having it just show up here. But as you can see, we do have a little queue on the right of all our issue tickets, and it's pretty easy for us here to add these. And so we'll go ahead and I don't want to have an icebox on here. Let's go ahead and worry about what do I want to do here for this. Put this in to do. We'll put this one in progress. And on the triage board, I don't want to have a icebox on that board because the triage, the initial triage processes should be relatively straightforward. Once a issue ticket gets routed to the ultimate destination and identified for a team that can potentially resolve it, there may be some additional discovery that the resolver may need at that point, but this is really that initial phase to allow anybody come in and start to do some triage. And so what we want to have here is, I think the standard setup is pretty good here for this. We want to have a to-do and in progress. For the to-do things, we haven't done our initial phase 1 triage, and in progress, we are doing our initial phase 1 triage. And then we really want to get to a point where we set up an automation that we'll see, okay, once I append the appropriate label set, this will automatically appear on the board that it needs to. And so, but that's going to get a little dry to work on the workflow for the purpose of this call. So I just want to show you what I'm going to do there over time. For now, let's go ahead and skip straight ahead to the boards for support, feature requests, and bugs, where I've already done some things, and we can just jump into some of the planning. And so for a planning, as a typical thing for this call, what I intend to do most every week is go ahead and we'll review the things that are in queue. Review bugs and features, and one of the feature requests that we have in here is to have an automated report of that is going to automatically pop up. Here's the stuff that's changed in the past week with a little bit of metadata, so we can quickly review that as well. There's ways to find that in lists right now, but until I get it consolidated as a nice report, it's probably not going to be good to go through on the call to try to find what's occurred without a nice consolidated list. But we will in the future have kind of like an automated weekly newsletter, and we'll review quickly the changes that have occurred over the past week as this part of the call. And I want to look at bug and support requests first, because those should be triaged at a higher priority, and then we'll get into feature requests. So we can see here, we've already got bugs. A few things in the bugs thing. These are all automated, so interesting. So I do have something here I didn't even know that I had. So something I've overlooked. So let's look at the bugs we have here. And let's go ahead and delete some of these automatic notes. And I may have started working on one for somebody here and forgotten about it, because I do see a request to join. Is this still open? Let's go ahead and go to issue for full details. And this is close, so hopefully this did. Okay, I already addressed this one. It looks like I already finished that one. So that one is closed. One issue. Now, interesting thing is, in this bug screen, there should be an automation that once a ticket is closed, it should automatically move to the done column. So that automation may not be present. So let's try manage automation, move issues here when they are closed. And go ahead and update automation. And I think, again, that's probably event driven. And so it's going to trigger when an event occurs saying that the issue closed. Since that ticket was already closed, it's not going to reconcile. And so now let's see, filter past events from homepage event section. I think this is another one that maybe it's not closed. So filter past events from homepage. Now I did finish that. I remember finishing that. But let's just look at the issue itself in the source, make sure it's not already closed. Maybe I appended the pull request to it, but didn't actually close it. And So filter past events from homepage event section. So what this is saying is, and I'm pretty sure I already did this, but I must not have closed the loop on it. So on the homepage event section, if it load, it was showing dates, showing events. Now there's an event panel on the homepage as well as on the event page itself. And they have to write a separate filter for each. So originally I'd written a filter to show only upcoming events on the events page, but it doesn't look like maybe I did not fix it because those are definitely past events. Yeah. So let's just double check that after refresh. Yep, look at that. It is still showing past events. And so that is definitely something we want to prioritize. I already put this as priority critical urgent. And before I jump onto that though, let's just go ahead and assign it. So we got bugs and I want to have this, we got this in the to-do column and we will establish some more criteria over here. You know, what exactly should be done for something to be considered in progress and to do. I need to add an icebox column for things that still need prioritization. I like to have some additional columns here for things to review. It's kind of like an on deck. I think of this to do column as like an on deck, things that we've already looked through and we've already decided are next in line. Sometimes things that are next in line to be worked on are all things that are priority 1. Sometimes there are things that are priority 3 that have their time. It's kind of, we have a weighted fair queue of sorts. You can't always starve out things that are priority 3. And some systems they'll say, well, for us to work on something before we do, we'll call it priority 1. So everything we're working on at that point in time is the top priority, which kind of makes sense from a certain perspective, but I don't think that's a valuable. I think it's good to keep good metadata. So I like to keep this column here that says to do, sort of like the next on deck, things we've decided are next on deck, regardless of the priority label. But then by the time something it goes to the in progress column, you should have standards as to what exactly. And the big one for me on nothing should be in progress until it's assigned to an individual. And you shouldn't assign anything to an individual until it's actually in progress, right? Because you may think like, oh, I'll assign this to me because I'm going to do that at some point. Don't do that, because as a general practice, even if there may be some cases where you want to be able to flag something for only yourself to do, and in which case I'd recommend putting that as a note in the body, as from being able to create consistent standards here and treat things consistently. So like at this point, I'd ideally like to even set this up as an automation to where I'm going to come through, I'm going to assign this. And I've already actually given myself the assignee because clearly I already started to work on this at some point and then forgot about it. And that's one thing that I'll put on here as a little note. I'm going to edit the column. Must be assigned. Let's just say must be assigned. Just as a kind of hint there. So if anything moves to this in progress column, we'll want there to be, okay, now it should always be assigned if it's in progress. Now, I will hopefully not forget about that again, but rather than work on that one just yet, I want to review what we have for planning in our support and our features. So once again, we've got a couple of these default notes that GitHub creates here on these. Delete those. And I don't think we have any outstanding support requests right now. So I'm going to skip support. Although if anybody on the call is aware of any outstanding support requests. One of the things that we have, features is really the biggest area. I've got tons of things in features. I have a lot more things that I know need to go in features. One of those being, there's a lot of different places that a pull request and issue ticket might pop up somewhere in one of the many different repositories. And we don't have really great monitoring and alerting around those yet. And so if anybody is aware of anything that I have missed seeing anywhere, definitely let me know. Let's go ahead and let's look at the feature request board. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a note to this column, add column. I want to call this. We'll just call this icebox for now, lack of a better term. We'll say preset is none. Create the column. And the purpose of this for me, a lot of people may recognize, is a relatively common name to have a column called icebox. I have all this stuff in to do, and let me use some filtering here to say the to do should be like anything in icebox would be ones that still need a little review and prioritization potentially. I don't want things to go into to do unless I've looked at them and decided I'm going to replace this, or let's just change this name. I'm going to call this on deck. And I don't know if that saying something's on deck, it's kind of a, saying that might have significance in certain communities. So I don't know that that is a really good term to use, but it's essentially you're the ones that we've decided are going to be done next, or it's kind of it's a sort of a prioritization exercise that gives us a way to do a level of prioritization that isn't other than just the labels. Because again, there may be times that we don't want to have it like in terms of like a queuing theory. We don't want to have a queues that's the priority queues starve all other tiers of priority. So we might have something that is lower priority that we do want to push through ahead of a higher priority item. Otherwise, we may only do. And that's not always true. This gives us some ability as a team when we're planning to have some flexibility to really leverage the priority tickets and kind of our standard priority standard and create sort of a weighted fair queue approach that allow us to handle different priorities differently. And there's also things like if there's multiple people working on queues on tickets, many members of the community, if for most members of the community, honestly, if you should not be looking at these as what's priority one, what's priority two. If you're interested in helping with or resolve some of these tickets, you should be looking at it as to what do I want to do and what matches my skill set and interest level. Because there's some of us who really need to be concerned with what are the highest priority issues, and other ones, like I said, if you're contributing your time and effort to help out with something or to add your knowledge, we're grateful for that, and that doesn't mean that you need to be as concerned with our own priority, depending on how you want to participate. So I have everything in the icebox now. Let's look through. This is not nearly all of the feature requests that exist in my head. I need to do a better job of getting more of these feature requests out, but let's just take a quick look at what we've got here. Automated central ticket tracking, ticket creation for modern apps, managed repositories. And so this is this is another big project, and I have to scope out a little bit more. But one of the things that we have is we have a number of different repositories, and people can create issue tickets on any one of those repositories. And there are repository level automations that exist when you're handling an issue ticket on a given repository. Now, we've got bunches of repositories. And so the disadvantage of the challenge here is, like, if we have everybody create all their issue tickets centrally, let's say somebody's had the vSphere with Tanzu 101 course and they have an issue on that course. Do they open a issue ticket on the vSphere with Tanzu 101 repository, or do they come maybe centrally to the homepage and open an issue ticket there? If they open it centrally, right? Then that eases centralization. Hey, all the issue tickets are central. But then you lose something in that when you open a ticket on the repository. Let's say if you have a ticket that says, here's an issue having something to do with this particular course. Well, let's say maybe it's the content. Maybe the content, there's a piece of content that is out of date. You say, here's an issue ticket on the Tanzu 101 course. This particular page is out of date. Well, at some point, in order for us to resolve that issue, we're going to make a change to the contents of that repository, right? And so if we start off with that issue ticket, we'll end up having a pull request that matches it. And that's really important for traceability in these environments. So that way, if we need to go through and say what changes have happened to my content, if I need to go back and see what happened to something, I can very easily see, okay, I can see here's the change happened. Why did that change happen? I can see that's tied to this issue ticket that explains why the change happened. But that only works if we're using the issue ticket on the local repository with a pull request on the local repository. So what I have plans to do is, every time any issue ticket is opened anywhere, there are, GitHub has very robust eventing. And so I can have rules and create workflows that say things like, anytime anyone opens up an issue ticket on say one of the repos, create a tracking ticket centrally. Or I could have it just, put an alert or have a dashboard. But I like the idea of creating what I think of as a tracking ticket. Let's say that I want to have a project to make some updates to vSphere Tanzu 101, or maybe I just want to make one update. And so I should go to the vSphere with Tanzu 101 course or repository and open an issue ticket there. And so that is a good thing. And that's generally what we want people to do when they open issue tickets is open it and the repository where the problem. Now, if someone opens it centrally, that's why we want to have a robust triaging function, because anytime anyone reports data back to us or reports a problem, has a request, we want to make sure we handle that wherever it comes through. So we want to encourage, have the system designed in a way that encourages people. If I'm on the vSphere Tanzu 101 course or the 201 course, if I open an issue ticket, it will open on that course. But at the same time, then do something to keep centralized management. And there's a lot of different things we could do for centralized management, but the proposal I have in place is to create a tracking issue ticket, because if we're using GitHub Projects for the project planning, having the monitoring, that centralized monitoring in the format of an issue ticket will allow us to leverage these GitHub Projects features. And so I can say, from a central planning standpoint, monitor a tracking ticket and kind of move it through a central planning phase and handle it, and then just implement the ticket. So I do want to centralize the project planning, but the issue tickets themselves should be open at the repo where it's been. So we just have to have a system that manages that. Now, fortunately, we already have some workflows. The transfer, creating, it's pretty easy to make an API call to GitHub to say, open an issue ticket with this context. And so to resolve this one, what we'll need to do is to, on a given repository, have a GitHub workflow that looks for the event called new issue ticket. And so on, let's say if I'm on the vSphere Tanzu 101 repository and someone creates a new issue ticket there, what I'll want to have the automation do is say, let's take a synopsis of this issue ticket, maybe copy the body of it and create a tracking ticket on the central repository. That way we have one central view that we can manage. We also want an automation in the inverse to where when we close the issue ticket, we should always close the issue ticket at the source as well. Not the tracking ticket. And so we want to have an automation that will watch for those closed ticket events and will close an associated tracking ticket when a source ticket is closed. So if that makes sense, that is this work that needs to be done. And this is kind of if anybody has any of their own feature requests, to have those open here. Any comments on these? If you say, hey, that particular thing that is really interested to me, I would like to work on that particular feature request. Let me know. Because we'll schedule time to work on it together, or however I can to support you. So here we see another request. Members public should receive automated event promotional notifications and option to receive event reminders. So this is written, I wrote this in a user story format. And in general, for all feature requests, like I don't want to tell people they should write a feature request in a user story, because if anybody, I don't want somebody who wants to put in a feature request to not feel comfortable doing that, because they're not necessarily completely familiar with this format we call user story, or some other or formatting requirements. So I do want to encourage people to put in their issue tickets in any format that they want, but ideally our especially tickets having to do with feature requests should be put in a format here where we have a user story that describes the subjects and the of the feature in kind of an abstract way. So event creators and constituents being people who participate in an event or might be interested in an event, should be able to receive timely alerts and notifications of upcoming events with little to no manual intervention. That sounds vague, and it kind of intentionally sounds vague. What I'm really saying is that we should send out meeting alerts. All right. So that way, if you go see an event, on the events page right now, I just created an event that has an ICS file that I could download and then have a meeting reminder. But that isn't like a standard part of the template. It's always possible to put there, but I do want to set up some easier ways. And this is really, if you actually read the plan, this is really talking about having an ability to create events on the homepage that are recurring. Because right now we have recurring events like this call that happens every Friday, and I have to create. Right now, I'm still creating each of these entries one at a time. Each of these is a different file, and I go and manually copy over the file, manually update the information. What I want to be able to do is be able to create a series of events, and also have that incorporate an ICS file. So right here, I have a user story, and I may have some of these. I may have discussion and plan, and this one is kind of like a higher level ticket, because I'm scoping 3 features to fulfill this requirement. And so one of them is a workflow. So let's say when a new event is created, an entry is added to a daily cron workflow that iterates through events and sends an orchestrated sequence of announcements at T-N before the event. And so that is a way of one method of sending out alerts for events. I don't know if that's the best proposal on that. I'll think about that more as we go. I'm more right now wanted to give the idea of the type of features that we're talking about, and we'll hone in on these more with prioritization from next week. But like, big goal I have for today is so that way you have awareness of like, here's some ideas of general types of tickets and features and the general concepts of stuff that we're going to be working on together. I will start focusing a lot more on getting all the prioritization implemented and moving things to on deck, and then scheduling some time in the week where I will have some additional sessions to work on stuff. So let me just run through a couple more. If we have any questions about any of these, I don't want to leave anything out, but rather than going through each proposal in detail, as I won't have time to do, I just want to highlight just the collection of stuff that we have. So create Hugo shortcode for HTML hidden and expanding blocks. That one's a real simple one I want to have done real quickly. That's a big, going to be a nice element. One of the things that we used to have is we used to use I used to put all of the images and all of them into hidden and expanding blocks. Because one of the things you'd find was like in hands-on labs guides, for example, one of the best things is they have a screenshot per mouse click. And so if you're working on something new, it's hard to go wrong because every single mouse click, there's a screenshot. But that also means, for, in a lab guide that might take you an hour to do, there might be, a couple hundred pages of images, and it'd be prohibitive to use as a reference. So with the, oh, come on. Why did it do that? GitHub, let's say CNA-tech. There we go. So just as an example, we want to get to this place where we have our guides, like we've got some examples right here. Come on. It's being slow, of course. And let's just pick an example. Now with just straight up Markdown, like we used to only have the Markdown interfaces. And so in Markdown, it's a little bit easier to say, I want to have a hidden and expanding block for my images, because then I only have to worry about Markdown format. Now what we're doing with our new GitHub pages, now the GitHub view is a secondary view. Our primary view for the Modern Apps Learning is in the web view with these HTML files that are rendered from Markdown files in GitHub. And so what that means is that I can no longer simply go into a Markdown file and use native Markdown syntax to create a hidden and expanding block. And it's actually interesting if you look at how I did it in these ones. I'm actually using native HTML markup inside of the Markdown file, and the GitHub's Markdown reader can understand that natively. But as we move to Hugo needs to take the source of our content, and it needs to, the source of it is in Markdown, and it has its own, it uses its own engine to convert that Markdown into HTML. And so I have to give it away. Ironically, even though I was using HTML the entire time, when Hugo sees just native HTML in a Markdown file, it doesn't know exactly what to do with it unless I give it some additional context so that way it'll know if I create a hidden expanding block and I want to have that present in one of these guides in text in one of these guides. For example, if I want to have a hidden expanding block here, I need to be able to edit it in the source and then have that go through the build process. And once it completes the build process, have that accurately render as an HTML hidden expanding block. And so to do that, we have to go into our Hugo template and create something called a shortcode that allows us to pass through. In this case, what we want to is pass through some vanilla, some unmodified HTML command that will give that hidden and expanding block to us. And so pretty simple thing. At some point I will schedule some time to do that. And what I want to do for all of these things is whenever I work on it going forward, I want to record it. I don't, my schedule and I may not always be able to put it on the schedule with a lot of advance notice for people who might be interested or want to join. But I hope for things like this, there's a lot of things that people need to do in, as we go from the legacy world to the modern world, that there's not a lot of great courses for how do we do all this little stuff that we actually need to do when we actually start doing these things outside of the classroom and in the real world. So when I implement these features, I want to be recording all of them and saving them all to the catalog. I'll probably start like live streaming, go on Twitch or YouTube live to as I do the features. So now let's go back to, where is our features board? Okay, so what's one of the things? So one of the things I'm going to do with that the Hugo shortcode for hidden and expanding blocks, and one of the reasons why this is a priority for me right now, is that when you go to register for the community and you go to enroll in a course or take a test, I wanted to have, those are very simple processes, but I wanted to explain them. And so by explaining them, they end up going, I just want to go and enroll in this course. I want to go register for the community, but I see now there's a big long instruction document. And that's a deterrent. I mean, you can see it in the data, you can see it in the number. So there's people who are interested in joining the community that say, oh, I'm going to click on the register, and they see the big long instructions and say, oh, well, maybe now's not the right time. Maybe I'll worry about this some other time when I have more time, because I don't want to sit here and read the instructions. I mean, realistically, when someone registers for the community, I want to have those instructions to be available to them for people who want to more thoroughly understand the process. But for many people, when they're first registering for the community, that is not the moment that they want to gain the detailed understanding of how do I register for this right now. And I think that has a very powerful effect. I think if people go through and they do, they register for the community, they enroll in a course, they take a test, and it just seems easy. They're not thinking about anything other than, okay, just click, click, click. And our instructions are telling them click, click, click. And then after that, we let them know, oh, by the way, you did everything that you needed to do when you just by starting at that course and getting enrolled and taking your first test, you did everything you need to do to become a meaningful contributor in GitHub. You opened an issue ticket, you posted a new file, and you modified an existing file. Kind of this the core trio of things you need to do to really help to contribute to a DevOps and GitHub project. So I want to have that to where the instructions are very, very simple, that someone can have the expand to see more instructions and click on something simply that, and then get the full explanation. But when they initially just look at how do I register for the community, they see a very short and simple explanation that first and foremost focuses on, here, just enter your information and hit submit. And then we'll worry about making sure that you understand the full implication of that as you go through the course material. Another big one, automatic Twitter updates for new tutorials. So let's make sure everybody knows, anybody who has a related blog, if you create a blog, it doesn't need to be on the Modern Apps Learning any site. It can be on your own site. But if it is about a topic whether related to Tanzu or related to a cloud native technology that is something friendly to the VMware ecosystem, then you can post your tutorial to the tutorials page. These tutorials are just links to external blogs. And so everybody is free to do that. Now, if you go to tutorials, I need to fix another thing I need to have an open issue ticket for, is I want to fix the instructions for how to create these somewhere. Maybe I'll put it in the header, a link to instructions on how to create blogs. But in the meantime, if you scroll through here, I think it should be down at the bottom now. There is a blog on how to create blogs, or if you want to ask me, I do need to, yeah, here we go. The very bottom one, I think. No, of course not. Well, I need to take an action item to put it link to this how to create blogs instruction set right in the very header here. So I'll add a little link. I just did a similar thing to where it says, we'll say, if you want to create a blog or post a blog, not really create, but post a blog, click here and there's instructions. And I can send you the link in the meantime. Somewhere in these blogs, there's a blog about how to create a blog. and so this creates, it gets your blog here where hopefully it'll drive extra visibility. But what we really want to be able to do here for members of the community is, if somebody posts a blog here, I want to automatically tweet that out on our Twitter channel and our LinkedIn, and who knows, maybe we can add some additional social media. It's just an additional thing, additional values for if people are going to go create something. We want to help people find it, and we want to help our audience by creating a nice channel here, and hopefully that really offer values to members of the community. So when they go and post something for the same action, they will also know that if we approve it, it's also going to go out on our social media channels to help draw attention to the good work that they've done. And let's see, we are just about out of time here. I'll just review the headlines of a couple, but automatic LinkedIn updates for new tutorials. So yeah, once again, for new blogs, for new tutorials, I'm going to have those automatic updates go out and have workflows for those. Another thing right now, as you may have noticed, for those of you who've completed a digital badge, I usually go through and send out a tweet and a LinkedIn about, hey, so-and-so finished the course in digital badge, congratulations. That's all manual right now. And it's very time consuming, and it's also preventing us from really being able to take advantage of this. So we have a lot of people who completed courses already that we have not been assigning the digital badge to just yet, or if we haven't been able to get out because there's just too many to try to do manually. And we want to make sure that we celebrate our community members, and also for the community, there's very little that gets us more attention and visibility than a lot of those advertisements that go out to social media that say, hey, so-and-so earned a badge. It's a great opportunity to bring attention back to the program. Some people will see those and they're like, hey, I'd like to earn a digital badge too, and kind of spread that awareness of the program. And so I've got to work on that workflow. We already have that workflow that will go make the API call to assign the digital badge when somebody does what they need to do to complete it. I want to append that workflow, make an API call to LinkedIn and Twitter to do that. So hopefully that gives everyone a glimpse of the type of features that we're working on in the community. I don't expect that everybody is interested in everything, right? But some of you may be interested in like, oh, that would be interesting to see how to use Bash to make an API call to Twitter to automatically post a message when an event happens. Right? That might be useful, information that's useful to you, or any, we have the whole spectrum of everything that any program or organization needs to do. We need to do. We need to support our users. We need to create the new feature requests. We got to figure out architectures, which include services that we may build into our architecture. And we may need to write code to create features, et cetera. So all those things will come in here, and hopefully I'll record as we work on all these things, and that'll create some documents and sources of reference. So when the idea being is if people out in the field, maybe if you're in pre-sales, you've got to go lead your customer on how to do something new you may never have done before. Or if you're an operator, you may need to go do something you've never done before. You've only seen it in a classroom. And so what we want to do here is really create a space where hopefully we've already may have some documentation and some video or something of us going and doing those things for our own system here, and get some actual visibility of the complexities of a real world production environment. And it can be something like maybe you've got to go implementing something in your real world environment. And before you do that, you'd like to have an opportunity to do something similar here. So this isn't just about things that I'm saying should be on the feature list. These are things that we as a community decide we want to do together. So I know we are out of time. Apologize for talking to the last second. If anybody has any additional questions and you'd like to hang out, I can hang out for a while and discuss further. So thanks everybody so much for joining, and look forward to seeing you all throughout the week. I will schedule I'll prioritize some more of these and get to actually working on these throughout the week. And as I do, I'll send out some additional notices as to when I do, and I'll have them recorded and posted online. And again, thanks everybody so much for joining. I'll hang out here for another minute in case there's questions.
Thanks, Art. Have a good
Thanks,
week.
Ivan.